Andrew McCart, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. I'm still in Vegas, and Ben's still in Vegas. Big fight this weekend, Davison, Haney, Linares. Obviously, I've got your thoughts on it, but we're almost at crunch time here. The betting odds have got Linares quite down there, 7-1. Your thoughts on that? Do you think that's a bit disrespectful to Linares?
I wouldn't say it's disrespectful, because obviously, it's their job to put the odds together. I think it just says a lot about how highly rated Devin is, when you take into consideration that Jorge Linares is a 3 or 4 time world champion.
Tough test for Devin going into this. You've been doing a lot of work with him in camp and stuff like that. We know the breakdown, how you break down a fight. We've seen it with Josh, what you've done with Josh against Ramirez and stuff like that. Have you had that much input with Devin? Because we know his father Bill's the head trainer, but so how much input have you had on this game plan going ahead against Linares?
Yeah, obviously we've all worked together. I've been in there probably five weeks working with Devin. So he's had the same treatment that any of the other lads would have. He's been given a scouting report on Linares, different film studies on Linares, on himself, these kind of things. But it's a fantastic environment because we all discuss it, we all go through it, and Devin himself, he visualises things himself. So when you explain it to him, he'll visualise. He'll ask questions. What about this situation? What about in that scenario? What about if this happens? If I'm doing that? And it's a fantastic coaching environment. So yeah.
Devin's a WBC world champion. I know Mauricio Suleiman's said that he is the WBC world champion, but then he's also said Teofimo Lopez is the undisputed world champion. So theoretically, there's 2 world champions in the lightweight division, and they both hold the WBC belt. Your thoughts on that? And I know where you stand, your team Devin, but your thoughts on that whole situation?
Yeah, it's a disputed. How can you have a disputed, undisputed champion? The whole meaning of undisputed means there's no dispute. Who's the 140-pound undisputed world champion?
Josh Taylor.
Is there anybody else that can claim to be a world champion in that division?
Nope, none.
Well, you don't have that in the lightweight division because he's disputed, so therefore he's not the undisputed world champion. That's no disrespect to him, because I like him. He's a good fighter and he got a fantastic win out last time. However, the facts are the facts, and if you go onto BoxRec, it doesn't show the WBC was on the line against Lomachenko. It doesn't state him as the WBC world champion, because Davison Haney is the WBC world champion, and that's that.
Obviously, all going well with Devin on Saturday night. I don't know how much you're on with this team, if you're going to come back and stuff like that, but the next fight for the both of them, if Teofimo Lopez comes through Cambosis on the 19th of June, is for Haney versus Lopez. Surely we should try and make that fight going forward. And how do you see that fight if it does happen?
I think it'd be bad for boxing if that fight doesn't happen next. God willing, both guys come through their next fight. How do I see that fight going? It depends on. Devin's a very well-rounded type fighter, and he's always developing. I think it'd depend on how Teofimo looks to go about the fight. But Devin's skill set is phenomenal. Learning each fight, and this is the key. And I say this to everybody. When the toolbox is like what Devin's got, and there's lots of different tools in there, you have to select different tools for each job. So obviously the tools that are selected for Linares for the weekend would potentially be different for the tools selected against Teofimo Lopez, depending on what he brings. But we'll look at that in more detail if and when that fight approaches. However, at the minute, everybody in the team's focus is on Jorge Linares.
Well, you mentioned the disputed, undisputed. He is disputed, so to become undisputed, then he needs to fight Davison Haney. That's a fact in your eyes, is it?
Yeah, for sure, because it's a fact. There is nobody that can go, there's no dispute over him being an undisputed champion, because he's not an undisputed champion. But what shocks me is, why would you not want to clear that up? Good win, Richard Comey, good win, Lomachenko, but Josh had good win after good win after good win after good win to win that undisputed title where there is no claim from anybody else. And I just think, why would he not want to try and attempt to do that in the 135-pound division? It's strange, but like I said, the reality is you can't be a disputed, undisputed champion, because it doesn't even make sense.
I was with him a couple of days ago, and he had some. It seems to me that he wants to face Josh Taylor next. He wants to fight Josh Taylor, and him and his father were saying that Josh is scared. Now, you mentioned his last 5 opponents. I see your face there. I said my question was to him: do you honestly think that Josh is scared when you look at his last 6 opponents, 136-1? I know. Well, I'm asking. It's my job, mate. It's my job. I'm going to ask it. Right. I'm asking you: is Josh scared of Lopez? There you go.
I can't answer that question because it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, I'm disappointed you even asked that question.
I had to, mate. It's my job. If I don't ask it, then I'm going to get fired. No, but like I said to him, if he can't be scared because you look at his last 6 opponents, the 136. I know, but I feel like I do it to some people. But no, there we go.
If there's anybody that thinks that, honestly, don't watch boxing no more. Ridiculous.
Definitely. But for Josh, I mean, we've seen his homecoming and stuff like that. You must have seen it. He's getting the press now, which is good to see. We've seen him on BBC News. We've seen him on Sky Sports News. He got that private jet back up the road from London to Edinburgh. Do you feel like the champ is finally getting what he deserves?
Yeah, and there's only more to come. I said when I first started working with Josh that I can't see a ceiling on his potential, and I still can't, you know. There's so much to come from Josh in and out of the ring. That's still, you know, as much as he's achieved to become undisputed 140-pound division champion, there's still so much more to come.
In terms of what's more to come, I know you want to see Ramirez versus Prograis down at 140, but is there anything left for Josh at 140?
I don't think so at the minute.
Jack Carroll mandatory maybe in Edinburgh?
Yeah, obviously I don't know if you know, I contacted MTK just to ask about the situation. I know it was 90 days, whatnot, but Josh has picked up a hand injury in the fight, so we'll have to see about that. I know that, you know, that was sort of the agreement. However, you know, I'm not 100% sure that Terence Crawford will be remaining with Top Rank for too much longer, so I think it's important that if that is the route that Josh wants to take and MTK want to go, then we try to make that as soon as possible.
One final word on Devin Haney.
Before it gets difficult with the crossovers if he goes to another platform.
Yeah. One final word then on Devin Haney, because I know I've done a big interview with you a couple of days ago and basically covered all this, but I want to get your thoughts on the remarks from Teofimo and Josh. But one final word on Devin Haney, Linares, what kind of fight can we expect?
Yeah, I think that it hugely depends, and Bill just touched on it there in the fighters meeting. It hugely depends on the ambition of Linares that comes. Obviously, we're preparing as though he's coming 100%, and in his prime, he's saying that he feels as good as he's ever felt. So depending on how he approaches the fight will depend on how Devin goes about the fight. In terms of the principles, he knows exactly what he needs to do. But I think the expectation of Devin to be running around the ring, jabbing and moving is not going to be the case. I think that he won't be giving Linares time to find his rhythm and shoot off a sharp change of pace like he likes to do. He'll be putting it on Linares in a smart, educated way. Definitely.
Well, you had lunch yet?
Not yet. I've had a coffee. I've been intermittent fasting. I was just talking to Dean about it there. He was like, "You're looking trim. What's going on? Face is looking trim." So I've been doing the old intermittent fasting, and I've had it.
So when are you due to eat?
About 5 o'clock.
Fuck. Well, I'm not getting lunch for you then. I'll get lunch by myself.
Well, I could break it, I suppose.
Let's go and grab some lunch then, Ben.
Perfect.
Thanks, my man. Thank you.